Hello, gardening fans, and welcome to the high holy days of gardening, aka July. This is Marvin Gardens, July 2025, and we got a real garden going here. We probably should just jump right in and get started, don't you think? First of all, we've got Mr. Franklin there. He's checking things out, having a good time here. It's sort of a delightful day, below average temperatures, I believe, for July. But that makes for a delightful day. And we're starting with Asian leeks or garlic chives, and they seem to have slowed down quite a bit this year for some reason. I don't know if they're being overrun with grass or what. And we got the pond irises that are long since done blooming, and nothing really to show you in the greenhouse. Looks pretty much the same as it did before, so we won't waste any time in there. Now, over here, hanging off the mini barn are the hanging planters with petunias that are doing very nicely, as you can see. Not as many colors as last year, but they're doing quite well, and they're not having much competition. Here is Daikon alpine radishes, most of which have been pulled. I just left a few in there in case they'll get bigger. And as you can see, they're starting to bloom / go to seed. So I'll be pulling those shortly. And we've almost got a couple of rows of carrots going on here. Again, the germination was spotty, but I'm getting closer to 2 rows, and I've replanted the vacant spots, so our hope springs eternal. This is another row of daikon radishes. I don't think I can get down there and show you much, really, but you can see a couple of radishes in there. I just thinned them out, so they should be growing nicely over the next few weeks. And we've got 2 kinds of cauliflower here. I think, I don't know if I go around towards the other end, we got one that's ready, pretty much ready. In fact, it looks pretty darn good. That guy right there. That's a Paxton, and the Skywalkers are the other variety that we got going. And I think I've pulled a Paxton or 2 already, a little smaller than I had hoped, but they looked good. Now this is a row of cabbage, variety called Bronco, because for some reason I'm not growing storage number 4 this year. Maybe I couldn't find it or something. Don't know. But they look equivalent and are doing fine. Then we got green magic broccoli, many of which have been harvested already. Again, smaller than I hoped, but doing okay. And then the mini broccoli. Happy Rich is the variety, and I just came through and got a bunch of it. There's a bunch of it still ready to go at this point. And then this is purple magic broccoli, and as you can see, we got a head coming in there. And again, they're not big tight heads like I would like to see, but they're doing okay. And then we got our lettuce. This is our third shift of lettuce, as it were. All butterhead lettuces, and you can see the ones on the end there. That's the last of the second shift, and they are well on their way to going to seed, but those leaves are still plenty edible. It's not till they start getting thick-leaved that they become a little bitter. So we'll be pulling those, if not tonight, very shortly, like tomorrow. Then down in the herb garden, we got garlic chives, aka Asian leeks, and you can see that they're budding, and in fact this guy right here is trying to bloom. I got kind of a messy looking bed of chives down there, some of which planted new this year, some of which came up from previous years, and then this tangle of stuff is the second year of Greek oregano, which I kind of have to tie up because it's fallen all over everybody else. And then Genovese basil, looking pretty good, except for that stinking, can you see it, Japanese beetle there. So we'll take care of that right now. We hate them. And then sort of shaded a little bit by the basil is Wega parsley, which is looking pretty good, and we've already used some of it. The common sage, even though there's a sign there, because I did manage to get all my garden signage up, there are no plants, so but the sign's there, so you know what dead plants are there. Anyway, rosemary, 3 of the plants are looking quite well. I think we had 6 originally, but I'll take 3. And then we got German winter thyme, which is doing nicely, and the herb is, or the dill is exploding. It's a variety called Teddy, and I'm never really sure what to do with dill, but because I don't really make dill pickles, but you can see it's actually getting ready to bloom, and it really smells like dill, so that's pretty nice. Now Vanina worked on the pet memorial area, so it's looking quite spiffy, and although we have ducks and it's kind of taking a nosedive there, so we'll fix that all up and then take a look again. There we go. Okay, and so things are looking good over there. We're not sure what's been eating our green beans, but something's been coming in here and munching them. There's actually one right there, but it's been a disappointment. I'm going to have to find a different place and a different structure for them. Ranger, surprisingly enough, is not in the compost heap today. That's good. This should look quite a bit different than last month. As you can see, the floor of the new greenhouse / grow house is completely covered with vines, and on the near end are where the cucumbers are planted, and the far end is where the Waltham butternut squash. I don't know if you can see the one that's right down in there that I just pollinated today. Maybe I'll intercut a still of a Waltham butternut. The okra plants are looking very good, and in fact there's a pod right there, and we've had a few. I should probably snip that one off because they get woody in a hurry. And then we've got our jungle of tomatoes. Tomato cages, as they were last time, are up. And oh, Ranger just stole one. You had to steal a green one, boy? You couldn't wait till it ripened up? Oh, he seems to like it. All right, so that brings us to, it's okay, Range. That brings us to eggplant. And I'm just going to try and sort of scan down here so you can see the eggplants that are coming in. None of them are quite harvestable, but they're pretty darn close, as are these Olympus peppers. And you've got a nice row of those going on. One's a little dwarfy over there, but that's all right. And then these are Carmens. I grow almost every year just because I have such good luck with them. And as you can see, having good luck with them this year too. Those are a harvestable size. And these are goddess banana peppers. Coming in very nicely, also of harvestable size, and we've already harvested some. Now these peppers here are shishime, or shishimi, or shishi, I don't know how they're pronounced, but they're supposed to be like a Japanese type stir-fry pepper. Got lots of them coming in, so we'll see. And then these are roulette, which I don't know, I'm not really finding a good way to show you some of these, but they're down there. Am I showing it? I don't know. Anyway, they're there. They're listed as a hot pepper, but I don't know. I usually don't buy stuff that gets too hot, so it might be one of those 1 flame out of 6 or something like that. All right, so next brings us to the summer squash, which as you can see is exploding all over the place. We've pulled many, often a little past their prime. There's a nice zucchini down there. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, right there. And I've got a yellow squash coming in. I just saw it over here. There it is. Not harvestable yet. Actually the zucchini are sort of choking out the yellow squash, which are called butterfingers. But that's okay. Here's another nice zucchini that's ready to be harvested. We could wait one more day if we wanted to. And then this is a volunteer borage, which is a nice little spicy flower that goes good in salads, which we usually never get around to doing. All right, so I kind of looped around bed number 2 here. So bed 3, other than my shadow, is branching Valentine sunflowers, and we have clipped a bunch of them and brought them in so we can enjoy them indoors as cut flowers. I'm pretty sure I have a still of that, but they're just delightful looking sunflowers, and that's all there is to say about that. Now these big huge sunflowers that are sort of randomly spaced about are all volunteers, and I think they may be branching sunflowers as well, but they're a much larger variety. And then basking in the sunlight there are Brussels sprouts, which for some reason were started much later than all the other brassicas. Not really sure why, but they're doing okay. So this double row here is celery, a variety called Tango, and it's a mixed bag here. You have a celery that looks like that, which I don't know what happened. Celery that looks like that, which is not much better, but a little bit. And then you have celery that looks like this, which is what I imagine the way it's supposed to look. It's not ready to be pulled yet, but kind of concerns me that, some of them are like that and others are like that. I suppose I should just be glad that as many of them are healthy looking as there are. So then comes to our flower area, and no reason to really go through all of these, but we got some lavender that's been doing nothing. We've got some mix of bachelor buttons that are doing okay. We've got some calendula that are coming up great and look like they will bloom nicely. And then we got a couple of rows of straw flowers, some of which the variety I know, and some of which I don't know. That brings us to a corn, which of course is, as you know, one of my favorites to grow. And this is the season where it really starts to shine. You can see almost every single plant has tassels, and tassels that are also producing pollen. I don't know if you can see the dust coming down, but I'm due to come in here and just sort of walk through the rows and shake the pollen off, because down below we got ears with silks on them. And so that's really exciting stuff. And there's a nice one right down there. There's lots of them. So we're pretty encouraged about that. We're still, at least I would say a couple of weeks away from harvesting. But it's just a good looking stand of corn. And it's the sugar buns, which is a sugary enhanced variety, which stays sweet and delectable for longer than the standard varieties. Frankie's walking past one end of the onion bed there. Those are Elsa. Okay, now I can't remember the name. All right, I'm not going to try and figure it out. And then we got Red Wing following that, and Patterson following that. So typical of the three varieties that I will often grow. This was a vacancy, and all of those are volunteer ground cherries that I just sort of planted into that triangle to give them someplace to live. These other onion-looking things there in the distance are scallions, some of which are perfect size, many of which are already starting to get oversized, but they're still quite edible. And then down here close is leeks. King Richard is the variety. And I've grown better, but they're okay. This is obviously the far side of the grow house that has Waltham butternut and cucumbers in it. And then there's the Sky Manor Marsh, which is doing gangbusters. Actually, it's doing like crazy. It grows everywhere. It's already invaded the asparagus patch. The asparagus patch I just weeded, which was overrun by either elephant grass or hay or something. Luckily, it did not seem to affect the asparagus too much. And I also have as I think I mentioned last time, a vining pumpkin, it looks like, of some sort in there. And there's lots of pumpkins. They're not very big, but they're worth leaving. So that's what we're doing. We're just going to see what happens. Now, they may turn into some hybrid between pumpkin and squash, and they may or may not have any good taste to them, but we'll take our chances. And I don't think that they will bother the asparagus at all. Meanwhile, hammock looks just the way that it did last time, except for maybe a little less cluttered. And our water features look pretty much the way that they did last time, including this one that's way too hidden by the invasive honeysuckle. I haven't really bothered to go out and try and fix that. Our mint patch, as this has turned out to be, is doing great. And this bucket here is a mixture of peppermint mint and some succulents, as there are many succulents down here in this area. The vineyard has been working and looks pretty nice. Now, if you see here, we haven't really cut back these vines at all, partially because if you let them go out to the end, that's when they grow these trumpet flowers. So this year we just sort of let them go, but that's why it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to walk through here. So excuse the noise and or my poor camera work, but yeah, that's the reason right there that we're letting these grow wildly. And I might tie them back or then trim them back at the end of the season. Coneflowers are doing pretty well down here. I planted some coneflower from seed and didn't have any luck with that. But now you're probably hearing frogs jumping. We do have another water lily there that is closing up now just because of the time of day it is. And our second water lily plant producing lots of leaves, but not a bud yet. And then all that other stuff is water hyacinths that have just exploded in growth. And they were up in the waterfall area, and I just tossed about 80 or 90% of them down here because they were clogging up the waterfall. But things are looking pretty good in the pond area. There's nothing really to see in the pond plant overflow area because it's all just pond irises. What else? There's not much else to show you. We got impatiens in the well. We got how come I can never remember those? Dianthus around the well. We got dianthus in the planters out here. We got branching sunflowers that are sort of anemic, but they're at least blooming and adding some color. And we got the pool, which we've had some issues with. I think I've got a small, slow leak in the inflatable ring there. But that's another story. You don't need to hear about it. The pear tree, other than leaves, is bare. There's not a single pear on it. And as I suspected, we went for a July 4th holiday and came back, and everything was gone, including every nectarine. Of course, we knew that was going to happen. And every peach. I haven't been able to find one peach on this tree either, even though the tree itself doesn't look too bad. But so it goes with fruit trees, you know what I mean? Now, that pretty much is gonna do it now. Well, again, like you see, we haven't cut back this stuff at all. So I'm a little awkward running through here. All right, so let me see. There's the boy. Hi, Range. Let me just hold it. I'm sorry, my camera work is terrible. There's the handsome boy. Ranger, you having fun? Did you find any bunnies or anything? Any snakies? Any squirrelies? Or anything good like that? He loves it out here. Frankie does too. For the old guy that he is, he walks around the garden, follows me, etc., etc. He likes it out here. Plus, tonight is particularly nice for July because it's not hot, it's not humid. It's just kind of nice. Speaking of trumpet flowers, those should be in focus. There's a shot of them. And other than that, let me just sit down here and see if I can get turned around and that lighting doesn't look very good. Let me try someplace else. I'm sure I'll have some drone footage or something to cut in here, or I'll just do a cut. Alright, so that's a little better, though not much, considering the subject matter. I think I've showed you pretty much everything for July Marvin Gardens 2025. There's a few potted plants and stuff that's blooming around here that maybe I didn't show you. But we're really in peak gardening season. This is, like I say, the high holy days of gardening. It'll only be higher and holier when it's time to do some corn harvesting. Oh, I forgot to show you something about the corn that maybe you noticed. I think it's worth showing you. Sorry for this distraction. But you may remember last year we had a couple of windstorms blow through that knocked over, at least the second one knocked over every single corn stalk in the bed. So this year I decided to take a different tactic, and you can see that I've got oak stakes on the ends of every row, and I've got the corn stalks tied up with garden twine completely, all the way down the row. And I did this before we got any windstorms that would blow them down. So it's proactive staking, I guess you would call it. And so far it's worked. I mean, we've had some winds come through, nothing really major, like you know, when we get a monsoon or it seems like a mini hurricane. Of course, it never really is that, but a violent windstorm. And although we've had some wind, we haven't had a really violent one. But I'm in high hopes that this preventative measure will, in fact, prevent us from having to prop things up right after a huge windstorm. And it'll be more than well worth the effort of pounding those stakes in and tying them up before they even had tassels on them, really. They've been in place for a couple of weeks at least. All right, that's gonna do it around here. The dogs are still having fun out here. They're not asking to go in. Ranger's looking for a bunny. There's a resident out here that somehow I've managed to keep off most of the plants with fencing and stuff, but just don't like seeing rabbits out here. Anyway, we had a lovely family trip during the first and second week of July up in Maine, which has been typical for the last 4 years or so for us, and had a great time. Now we're back, ready to celebrate the high holy days of gardening. We're harvesting pretty much every day something, and we don't really have many things in the way of disasters. Things are going pretty well, so that's about all she wrote for July 2025 Marvin Gardens. And we'll see you next month in August, after the dog days of summer have even subsided, and we'll be staring down the barrel of autumn. Let's not rush it. We'll still be in a midsummer's night dream in August. So we'll talk to you then. Hope you guys are having a great summer. We're having a pretty good one here. The dachshunds are having a pretty good time. So things are good. Hope all is the same with you guys. And we'll talk to you next time. And in this case, that will be August 2025. Marvin Gardens. See you later. Bye.